Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Oz with the overalls is still spinning on those ones and twos.
Give me a second. I gotta...
Yeah. Oz, you might want to mute your mic. Or
what? He's talking?
Typing. No, the typing we heard. So.
Oh, okay.
Is that good? Oh, I thought you were typing. My bad. I heard typing. My bad. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. That was you?
Of course it was me.
Damn.
What could it be?
Oz, I am sorry for blaming you. Those overalls look beautiful. Thank you so much. I still have not got my overalls, fam. I'm waiting for some suggestions. I want to go overall shopping with Trey Wright because Trey Wright is always one of the first in the building. He's our homie. We love him. So why not go overall shopping?
For overalls right now, Pasta.
What's that?
It's too cold for overalls.
No, you can look the way Oz wears it. He wears stuff underneath. You know what I'm saying? I can wear stuff underneath on the bottom part and like nice thermals on top, fam. Keep myself nice and warm.
You're in Florida. You don't need thermals, fam.
All right. Well, I can still wear the overalls. T-Can is also here, fam. T-Can says, I don't know if it's a male or female. Thanks, fam. Much love. And Trey Wright says, hello, fam. Love you all. We love you, Trey Wright. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great show for you today, a long show, a jam-packed show. As you know, we were over in D.C. for the weekend, so we got to break everything down. So please do us a favor, hit the like button, hit the share button, share it to Twitter, share it to Facebook, share it with your mom, share it with your dad, share it with your uncle, your aunt, share it all. And thank you to everybody who got us to D.C. I thought, fam, I don't know about you, but I'm just going to speak for myself. It was an amazing experience.
It was. Oz, it's going to be slide 38 is where I added it, just so you know. No. That's for the
38. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, oh God, everything. You know what pissed me off is that we couldn't produce content in real time because they jammed the signals.
Yep.
So that was really obnoxious that they were able to do that, because I really wanted people to see how many people were there, like 30,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a variety of people, but all you're hearing is the smearing of RFK speech, which is what we're going to talk about. We had an amazing show with Frank Analysis last night. Bruno Franco, who also was with us in attendance. And so we're going to talk about what we saw here on this show, because this is our show, so we're going to mention it too. And a lot of the smearing that's been happening to people like Max Blumenthal and others, who are really doing this work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, there was so many great things. The only thing that really sucked, there were two things that really sucked. First thing that sucked is when I got on the airplane in Florida, it was 69 degrees. When I got off in Baltimore, it was 19. Just ridiculous, right? Dropping like 50 degrees like that, Someone called DARPA, right? And get it heated up.
I asked, but Franco didn't do it.
I'm saying, he says next time he's thinking that he'll get enough influence to get it done. Number two, the only thing that really sucked over the weekend is that they overbooked. They had so many speeches, and Max Blumenthal didn't get to deliver his speech. We will get into that section. I mean, we heard it from him, and it was like amazing. I think it would have been the most important speech to hear, aside from RFK's speech, which is, I mean, you can spend hours just breaking down that RFK speech. It was just loaded with all types of juiciness, fam. But yeah, we'll get into that as we get along.
I hate that word.
So why don't we just jump right into it? Start it off. We'll be on YouTube for about 2.5 sections, and the last 2.5 sections will be on Rokfin only. So it pays to go over to Rokfin right away, guys. Okay, because we're gonna stay there. Because YouTube still the same old shit. Can't do anything over there. So, fam, why don't you just start us off?
Okay, so this is going to be as quick as possible, but I had to put this in there because we needed some light discussions before we get into the real discussion. So Biden and Psaki have just been failing. Their approval rating of the Biden administration is disastrous. Kamala Harris too, and the Democratic Party as a whole is just, I think most people right now are at the point where they're not supporting either Democrats or Republicans. People are really seeing what is happening. Now, Biden and Psaki particularly constantly put their foot in their mouth. Now, this is a few weeks, I think it's like a week or so old, but I wanted to play it because going to DC and seeing MLK Jr. be so mentioned by so many people, and a lot of these liberals getting offended that these supposed white supremacists and these supposed like right-wingers dare mention MLK. Well, let's look at what Joe Biden said about Martin Luther King Jr.
But even Dr. King's assassination did not have the worldwide impact that George Floyd's death did.
So I didn't get a chance to talk about this because I was like in Nicaragua. I don't even know where I was at that point. But just being in DC, Pasta, and reminding ourselves that he said this is ridiculous, because every single person, whether they were Islamic or Christian or a Jewish or whatever ideology they espoused on that march that day, mentioned MLK Jr. when they went up to speak. A lot of them, none of them mentioned Donald Trump, but they mentioned MLK Jr. and they mentioned how impactful, how they're standing on the shoulders of these greats. It was at the Lincoln Memorial. And so you had all this happening. And then you have Joe Biden is saying that the death of George Floyd was more impactful, while simultaneously increasing the Pentagon budget, the police budget. It's just I don't know. It's peak cartoon is what I would say.
Well, it's trying to attempt to keep people in an area where they might have felt most of their support, right? Like a lot of people felt it was like an anti-Trump, anti-conservative, anti-racist movement, right? Like, the stigma where the mainstream media gets to play, especially the establishment the Democratic establishment media, mainstream media, or those independent cucks out there, right? Where they attempt to play that media as the people, the media for the little guy, for the, the poor, the people of color. That's our network. And Fox and the right wing is more of the, awful. And that's when they got a lot of butts in the streets, because people were really emotional about the George Floyd situation. So trying to amp that up and make it bigger than it really is. And I'm saying, once again, the death of George Floyd was awful. I believe even a lot of people on the right would say it's awful, even despite, George Floyd's history. But trying to kind of compare George Floyd and Martin Luther King, and I don't want to trample on a man's grave. Right. God bless George Floyd's family and what they went through. Horrible. But this is Martin Luther King Jr. And you're trying to say that this death is more impactful to a man who led not only a civil rights movement, but a poor people's campaign movement that was revered and loved by so many people around the globe. Like, come on. I mean, this is peak cartoonish, fam.
Right. So it's no surprise that he then went on and did this, which we're going to talk about. I think this is all part of the theater, Pasta. I personally do think this is part of the theatrics that the party's doing. Just kind of like theatrics exist everywhere, right? The progressive movement has their drama theatrics that they hyper focus on when they shouldn't. And then the liberals and the Democrats, they do the same thing. That this whole thing with Congress and politics has become theater, which is why to me it's extremely boring, because it's like, what is the next thing they're going to be talking about? Which is why when I talk about these things, I don't talk about it to just, Joe Biden's an idiot. It's like, why are they doing this?
Yeah. But my question to you, fam, is it's boring. It's theater to us. We recognize it. We see it a mile away. But is it effective with the rest of the world, the mainstream, with the rest of the
absolutely.
Is it effective?
I think it is to a degree, but I think as more and more of people like us start pushing back against the sort of like theatrics, then it starts getting like a little bit less, like it starts getting old, right? Yeah. And that's what happened with the pandemic and COVID. And I think that's what we're seeing happen with the Democratic Party right now. So let's listen to what he said to a quote unquote journalist.
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch.
So just to refresh everybody's memory, at the end of this photo opportunity, these reporters were shouting questions, hoping that Joe Biden would answer one of them. And Peter Ducey is a Fox journalist. And he said, do you think inflation is a political liability? And in the midterms, and Biden responded with, it's a great asset, more inflation, like sarcastically, right? And he called him a stupid son of a bitch. Now, the thing I want to point out here isn't that Joe Biden is some sort of like, you know, it's not that he's just dumb or whatever. It's the fact that people have been, we've been talking about this for a long time, and about how Joe Biden is essentially Donald Trump, but he's just like the prettier face of imperialism. But at the same time, you can look back and see that Joe Biden is really no different. When Donald Trump did something like this, right, people completely looked, they freaked out. They were like, Trump is so, like, he's so impolite, he's so rude, he's just nasty. And then, like, the media, of course, went on and on and on about how awful Trump was, including the progressive, you know, TYTs of the world. But when Joe Biden does it, it's largely silent on the mainstream media, where they sort of okay it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Yes, I do, because really, to tell you the truth, I believe it's theatrics too as well, fam. I remember this episode. I used to watch a lot of West Wing back in the days when I was really naive to the neoliberal establishment. But there was an episode where one of the advisors, I'm getting an echo. Hello?
Hi.
Okay. I think it's better. It's better. One of the episodes of the West Wing where one of the president's advisors, I believe it was Toby Maguire, I believe it wasn't Toby Maguire, Toby something. He had the president doing these speeches and whatnot, and then he started continuing when they went off the air, right? Boom. They went to a commercial for one of the episodes. The president kept talking to the person that was, interviewing him, and made some crass comments about his opponent. And all of a sudden, it was like, you were still talking and they were still recording. They got that. What did you do? And now they put this recording out that was supposed to be like off camera, not a actual interview on the show, like leaked footage, right? And it made the other guy look stupid, and they did it on purpose. That was the whole thing they showed. This is the second time we've had a situation like this with Joe Biden. One that was kind of live when he lost his marbles. Remember, was it the G7 or the G6 or the G whatever it is, whatever number it is? I don't even know nowadays, right? The summit. When somebody was saying something and he turned around and started going and yelling at the person, not at the podium. You don't know what you're talking about, right? What are you talking about? And now over here, he's like, you stupid son of a bitch. It's a tactic to try to make him look strong, coherent, to know what's going on. That's what this is. This is theater. So
and it works.
Buying it. It does work. You know what I'm saying? But this is the second time they've attempted to pull this malarkey.
Right. So when Trump does it, he's rude. But when Biden does it, oh, he's strong.
He's strong.
Look at him.
Yeah.
Like, and if you go to the comments on like whatever link of this video is at, and you watch all the liberals comment about how like, oh my God, I love Biden. He's so great. Wow. I love him even more now. This is what they do. And these people are very good at manufacturing this sort of like outrage porn that a lot of media has turned into. And the progressives are no better at that issue. They love the drama outrage. Ooh, like, look at this guy. He totally killed this guy on this debate. Oh man, oh my God. Now we're going to talk about it for a fucking week. But it works. It works. Yeah, it does. And they know this. And because so
I was going to say, because the prevailing narrative, fam, is that Republicans are too strong and too tough when it comes to foreign policy. So they need to calm down. And the Democrats, we got to be careful when we elect them, any independent leading right person, because they're very weak. So when they act tough, it's like, okay, they're exceeding their expectations over here. You know what I'm saying? That's why it's a false narrative. Yeah.
And it was against a Fox News reporter. So, they're playing that culture war left, right thing, right? Yeah. They're playing that whole, like it's a Republican and look, and Trump was, he was dumb and blah, blah, blah. But it's the same thing. You're essentially elevating two egos at the same time. And you're not even realizing that, you're just playing for whatever team is there.
Yeah.
And so I just want to read real quick. Brian Stelter, CNN journalist, he said in 2018, calling a journalist a son of a bitch, it was wrong when Trump was just a candidate. It's even worse now that he's POTUS. So this was about, when Trump did it, essentially. And obviously that's hypocritical, right? So then Ducey goes on and he goes on Sean Hannity, and he basically tells him that Joe Biden called him right after and said, it's nothing personal, pal. And they went back and forth and we're talking about moving forward. And that, he was like, oh, I have to ask something different. And he's like, well, the president said that I have to, so I'm going to keep doing it. So it's like this whole thing when, just bullshit. Like, he's like, yeah, Biden cleared the air. We had a nice call. Yeah. And Hannity was like, that doesn't sound like an apology. And Ducey said, it's nothing personal. And I told him I appreciate him reaching out. And he also said, hey, Sean, the world is on the brink of like World War III right now with all this stuff going on. I appreciate that the president took a couple minutes out of his evening while he was still at his desk to give me a call and clear the air. Yeah. And he said, I don't need anybody to apologize to me. He can call me whatever he wants as long as it gets him talking. I think that's enough. That's enough. So we can move on. We can now move forward. There will be 3 to 7 years of opportunities to ask him about different stuff. So you can see that the media plays right into this thing. Like, Joe Biden said this, and look, I'm going to play nice with Joe Biden so I can continue being those, Fox News White House correspondent. And so we can have this playful back and forth. I'm, a Fox News correspondent. I'm a conservative. I'm going to push at Joe Biden and the Democrats, but it's fucking fodder. We all know it's fake. We all know it's theatrics. So it's ridiculous. It's just crazy how people, this is all progressive media is going to talk about for a fucking week. Joe Biden, he's such an idiot. You don't even realize that's exactly what you're playing into.
Fam, it's not fodder, okay? Joe Biden took time out of his milk and cookie break to call up this gentleman and work things out. And fam, you're right. It's just a complete distraction because once again, this is effective. We said, is it effective? All this malarkey, it's effective because people are paying attention to this stuff. I can't believe there's actually articles on this and tweets on this and people are talking about this. They're paying attention to this crap because that's what Americans pay attention to instead of what's really going on in Ukraine, in Russia, in Yemen, in foreign policy. Instead of looking into the deep dives of all the money lines of the boop boop and everything else, they pay attention to this because we have people who are watching just reality television or their TV shows. And if they're into politics, half of them are paying attention to this, what we used to call in the service scuttlebutt. BS.
Whatever gets some clicks.
It's
right. Because the boring stuff, the Yemen stuff, everybody should be covering Yemen right now. Everybody. And I have seen like us and maybe 2 other people, if that, cover it. That's it. That's it. And it's like, what the fuck is more important? If you're going to say independent media, they're so much better. No, you're not. You're not better because you're still covering the same fucking shit that you shouldn't be covering. You should be covering actual things. If you're going to consider yourself somebody that has the ability to have an opinion on politics, then please focus on the things that fucking matter because the world is falling apart. And I know people need, every now and then you need some sort of fucking entertainment, but it's becoming like that's all it is. Right. And so I'm definitely calling it out because I'm fucking sick of it. The whole morning. Oh my God, the debate. Oh my God, the debate. I don't give 2 shits about a debate that's not going to push anything forward. It just doesn't. Same shit.
It's a distraction.
So here's Jen Psaki, right? And I had to put her in there because this is the kind of shit that I'm talking about. Distract yourself a little further. This is what she says about how people should deal with everything that's happening. And I get it, dude. I get everybody's stressed. Everybody's going through shit. But like, this is what they use against you.
So my advice to everyone out there who's frustrated, sad, angry, pissed off, feel those emotions, go to a kickboxing class, have a margarita, do whatever you need to do this weekend, and then wake up on Monday morning, we got to keep fighting. And what that means, Lindsay, is we have to keep talking to members about federal legislation. That's essential. That's something that can be permanent, that can make sure people's rights are protected. But we also need to make sure people are educated in states across the country about what their rights are, how they can vote, when they can vote, how to request an absentee ballot. There's a lot we need to do on that front, and that's going to rely on the energy and the anger of that activism as well.
Do your job, fam. Get out there, vote, but ask for an absentee because it's a lazy thing to do.
You caught that.
Of course I caught that one. That one ain't slipping by. Fam, I'm just going to hand this to you because this is what, you know, Dan Rather said it in an interview, I think, with Sean Hannity. He said that the news used to be boring and objective. And now you guys and Fox and CNN and MSNBC, all you guys now have turned it into subjective and exciting. And that's what's going on. It's part of the distraction. Have a margarita, fam.
It can be exciting. It can be exciting and still be objective and still be about things that matter. It's just like you have to deprogram yourself from what you've been conditioned to get excited about. Because a lot of that comes from the ego, like the ego need to be like, ooh, like, oh, what's going on here? And it's like, we have to deprogram ourselves. We have to elevate ourselves to a different level of thinking.
Yeah.
And so her whole thing is like, I know we failed you, and I know this government and everything is shit, but you know, just distract yourself with a margarita. And hey, I fucking love margaritas, right, Jen? I do. But like, that doesn't mean that you don't have to do your fucking job. Do your job. Like, and they're not taking any accountability for anything whatsoever. Notice the things that she's not talking about, like really what's going on in Ukraine. You said that, right? But in this video, what they paint as is going on in Ukraine. And Pasta, I got so pissed off because I've seen so many people on the left say, well, I don't care if Russia invades Ukraine. That's not happening. Russia isn't invading Ukraine. Please stop getting your news from people who do not tell you the intricacies of what's really happening, because that's not what's happening at all. Like, NATO was not supposed to expand. According to their word, they gave their word that they weren't going to expand past a certain region anymore. A long time ago. Obviously, you don't take NATO for their word. They broke their word, and that's what they've been doing ever since. They've had 10,000 troops there in Ukraine. We backed neo-Nazis in Ukraine, and we're doing it again. Why is nobody talking about that? Why are the progressives who call everybody who disagrees with them a white supremacist, red, brown Nazi and are hyper-focused on making sure that everybody to the right of Bernie Sanders is a Nazi, but literally crickets on this? And if not crickets, they're like, well, we have to support Ukraine just because you're not a real Marxist Leninist if you support the current Putin, because he's not a Marxist Leninist. So it's just the fucking ridiculousness that I've seen from the so-called left is insane to me. They're regurgitating CIA talking points and putting out things like, well, we shouldn't, Ukraine, we can help Ukraine. Marianne Williamson, we can help Ukraine, but we don't have to push imperialism. It's like, what do you mean help you? Ukraine
yeah.
It's not your business.
Yeah, it's not. And everybody out there, go get Mark Sloboda on your show if you can. Yeah. Get the people, and this guy's been talking about Ukraine. He talked about Ukraine back in 2014. I followed him and Kevin Zeese, and they were masterful at this. And God bless Kevin Zeese up there in the spirit in the sky. But Mark Sloboda is still around, and he does an amazing job. Go watch shows like the Duran. They tell you the intricacies of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? You have to follow the right people on it. And it's so mind-boggling that the same people who were behind the coup in 2014, which destroyed this country, okay, sent them to be one of the most poorest countries around, caused the civil war between Eastern Ukraine and Western Ukraine. These people that caused all this are now the ones who are turning around. They are back in power, and they are telling you, we got to watch out for Putin. And these latte liberals, these cappuccino communists, they're just ridiculous, okay? I think Caleb calls our friend Jabba the Vosh, right? the cappuccino communists is what I call them, Jabba Lavage. I mean, these people are ridiculous. They do not know what's going on. Please, ladies and gentlemen, we need to wake up, because really, to tell you the truth, I know we're going to come to the end of this section, but this is something, as we get through the show, might be the next big distraction. And that is a bullshit propagated one-side narrative war with the Ukraine, with Russia, proxy through the Ukraine. And it could be very, very dangerous. And they will create the element which will take all the eyes, the ears, all over to that spot. And it really is disgusting, because people just don't know the facts about Ukraine, and they need to learn the facts about Ukraine.
Yeah, so we have the video, right?
Of Nancy?
Oh, you don't have it? Okay, don't worry about it. She was just saying something about Ukraine. It's on slide 13. It's not a big deal.
Let's go to slide 13. Let's do it. Let's do it.
If you can. Yeah, you can just play it. Thank you.
Our democracy is at risk because of assaults on the truth, the assault on the U.S. Capitol, and the state-by-state assault on voting rights. This election is crucial. Nothing less is at stake than our democracy. But as we say, we don't agonize, we organize. And that is why I am running for re-election to Congress and respectfully seek your support.
Okay, so that's Nancy Pelosi announcing her re-election run for Congress in 2022. She had already said that she wasn't going to run before, but she changed her mind. She's been in power since 1987. So, and she says that U.S. democracy is at risk. What democracy, Nancy? Okay, so just so you guys know, her constituency, her congressional district is full of a lot of neoliberals. It is some of the worst people you can encounter, the most elitist, the most arrogant, the most, the awful in the pandemic, like the Karens and the Kens that we talk about. It's such a hard district to get control of because of that, right? But Shahid Buttar has tried. A lot of people have tried and failed. Obviously, we don't have fair elections in this country, but California is one of the most corrupt places when it comes to elections. I mean, they do not let go of their hold on the way the system is done. So all these progressives are talking about Jakeem Jeffries replacing her and all of this stuff, and it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The only way we get rid of her is if she steps down. And trust me, if she does, it's for a reason. So I just wanted to note, like, the cartoonish nature of Nancy Pelosi still running for fucking office. And as you know, I'm at the point where I don't care because these people are selected. They're not elected. Yeah. But watch for the progressives to hyper focus on fighting Nancy Pelosi now when their beloved squad hasn't done fucking shit to oppose her. Just saying.
Okay. Fam, as you were saying that too, a lot of people are going after Pelosi in the chat. I was waiting to see, and I haven't checked the YouTube chat. I was just looking at the Rokfin chat about opinions about Shahid Buttar that you mentioned, whatnot, right? Like Shahid, like him a lot personally. However, his campaign, I don't agree with it. And you know what I'm saying? I'm sure we'll have a conversation off camera about what the future lies in, because today's announcement means a lot, right? I mean, Nancy Pelosi will never debate her challenger. She hasn't debated a Democrat in 20-something years, whatnot. And that's something that, it took a lot for Tim Canova to bait Debbie Wasserman Schultz out, to force her to one debate, which she got with the floor wiped on. But we'll reserve those talks for later about what's going to happen in the future and how that race might look. Because it is important. We want to kick the speaker out of there, but she's talking about voting rights acts, which is a big distraction from the actual voting system right now. And any Democrat or leftist, whatever, is running in the Democratic Party and they don't want to talk about the election process, then they're bunk. They're full of it. They're afraid to, because they're just capitulating to the Democratic Party. If they're going to capitulate right there on a free, fair, transparent election, then they're going to capitulate to the party at the end of the day. And I'm saying it now. So if you're not willing to step up and speak about it, I don't want to hear from you. And there are many other things we can talk about too as well when it comes to cancel culture, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to civil liberties. There's a lot of things because I'm not going to stand behind some bourgeois, synthetic leftist progressive run inside the Democratic Party when you think you're naive that you're going to win with those tactics. It's not going to happen. So either step up or shut up. That's my message to that whole situation.
Put up or shut up is what you said last time. Okay.
We had a fired up Fee. Now we got a fired up pasta. So, should we read some super rays?
Yes, we can.
By the way, we got almost 90 people over in the Rokfin. How many people we got over there on the YouTubes? We got about 180. Guys, let's get the numbers up. Let's get those Rokfin numbers up. Let's get those YouTube numbers up. We're having a great show. That was just the tip of the iceberg. We got fire today. We're coming from. We're going to do a Rokfin only section. So let's get on over here. Let's share. Let's get these numbers up. This is going to be a great show. I was going to watch it with my mom later on because she said she wanted to watch the show when she comes back from babysitting her little grandchild. But we have a lot of F-bombs, and my mom gets mad.
I haven't been cursing a lot, but today I just thought
we both been doing better at it, but we have a fired up feed today, so we're going to run with it. I'll just skip this section, and maybe we'll start with Honduras with my mom when we watch it tonight. She actually came on Slow News Couch this morning and said hi with the Convo Couch shirt on. So, okay, AREM, in stride, doing great work. I think we read that, but we'll read it again because AREM is with us. Thank you. Love you, AREM. Carrie Mark, DC was fantastic. Thank you to all who went. Love you, Convo Couch. Stop the mandates, save the children. You better believe it. We're going to talk about that today, Carrie Mark. We're right here, Carrie Mark. With Bubblegum Douche. Love this name. And Bubblegum Douche, thank you for the Super Ray contribution, fam. It is always appreciated on the couch. Ronnie Graham, listen to this one, Fee. You're going to love this. Please, Pasta and Fee, will you run for public office, council, education, anything? My God, you would win. Fam, why don't you answer that question?
You know, council is a little different. There is potential for people to win. I just am not, no. You don't want me to run for office. I would be cursing and I would be like telling people to go fuck themselves. And it's not, and I wouldn't kiss the babies. Like, you know,
and kiss the babies.
I think that's creepy. Why do you want people kissing babies? I don't know.
I love kissing babies. Who doesn't love kissing
babies?
Well,
you can do that. So
Joe Biden loves kissing babies. I probably wouldn't kiss babies either. But, you know, I'd shake hands and say, oh, your baby's cute. Even the ugly babies.
Because not all babies are cute. So.
But here's the thing to consider out there, Ronnie Graham. So a lot of people talk about, it was the whole saying, you got to build a bench, get into the smaller positions, get into the city council, get into dog catcher, get into your school zones. And that's true because those positions are important. However, right now, the ruling class, the elites grasp, they go to city councils out there. They spent millions of dollars going after Shama Sawant. So the frustrating thing would be to kind of go and try to run a campaign for whatever seat, whether it be city council or dog catcher, whatever, and you're already in the radar of the ruling class, the predator class, and they would do everything to make sure that you don't win. Because remember, that voting is still counted, right? With the regular votes, it's all counted together. It's a voting day. So they can manipulate that stuff with a push of a button easily. Or if they're going to cluster or do something stupid with some nefarious character, they can fix it that way. We don't have the systems in play for fair elections, and we need to have an open and honest conversation with that stuff. So that's something we have to fix. And until that's fixed, that's the reason why Tim Canova doesn't run again, I bet. You know what I'm saying? We've kind of talked about it because he's amazing and he's gotten so much support. You might not like him on all issues, but he's 10,000 times better than Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and he's capable. He's got knowledge in every single area, but he knows the system that's in play, that there can never, ever be, in his opinion, a fair election. So therefore, he won't do it again. So there's a lot of people who won't do it because they don't have belief and faith in the actual framework and system. Dave Carlton, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. That's two of them, guys. Here's a third one. Rob McMurtry, thank you for the Super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. We only need 9 more of those to beat the record to make Fee's head explode. I want to get a shirt that's always appreciated on the couch. and it's me saying it in a cartoon, and your head just exploding right there.
Anyway, so moving on to section 2, Kamala heads to Honduras. Kamala Harris is heading to Honduras. Now, again, this is it being talked about besides, the usual suspects like Kachan News. This is a really big deal, what's happening in Honduras right now. And I'm going to try to explain it as concisely as possible. Basically, the National Party is the party of Juan Orlando Hernandez is attempting to hijack positions in Congress. We have seen this before in Peru with Pedro Castillo. So this is an important thing to discuss because the United States is not going to easily let somebody like Honduras, who has so many connections to Nicaragua, to Central America, and other key parts of the possible trade routes now, out easily. So,
by the way, fam, I just want to let our audience know, if they're watching one of our first videos, the National Party, the Juan Orlando Hernandez Party, was the party backed by the American imperialists since they couped Manuel Zelaya in 2009, right? And then in 2017, election was so bad that even the OAS, the NGO that has always been empire friendly, said that the election was so bad, but yet the Trump administration backed that government, and that was the government that was in power and still might be in power right now with this fugaziness. And what we witnessed was the Libre Party, the wife of Manuel Zelaya, running to beat Juan Orlando Hernandez, and that's that. So go ahead.
Can you start with the first slide because my computer just froze? So
you want me to read it? Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that. And let me just pull it up here because I was watching the other thing. Tegucigalpa, which was the airport we did not fly into because we had to fly into an airport 4 hours away. Okay. You see, I'm already messing it up. Tegucigalpa, right?
Tegucigalpa. Okay. Yeah.
You got it?
No.
January 23rd from Reuters. Honduran lawmakers in rival alliances backed 2 different people as congressional presidents on Sunday amid disputes between President-elect Xiomara Castro and descendant members of her party, warning of a new political crisis in the poverty-stricken Central American nation. Lawmakers from Castro's leftist Liberty and Re-Foundation Party, the Libre Party, and 2 other parties appointed a member of their caucus as president of Congress on Friday, breaking an agreement to appoint lawmaker from the Partido Salvador de Honduras party, an ally that helped Castro claim victory.
I got it, Pasta. So you guys can see the pictures of the media and everything that's been going on. There's been a lot of turmoil, a lot of chaos, because basically Xiomara Castro called this a betrayal, and she expelled the 18 lawmakers who had supported the decision to go against the PSH member to the top post of Congress, be, in leadership of Congress, so to speak. And so what happened is that these Libre Party members, about 18 of them, decided to break away and support Juan Orlando Hernandez's pick for Congress, even though that wasn't part of the agreement. Now, if you recall, when this was happening, when Xiomara was running against Juan Orlando Hernandez, the National Party's candidate, she had to make alliances with the liberal members of the party, with several other factions that I just named. And they had to do this in order to pretty much overtake the spot and make sure that they ensured a win. And so when this happened, I was worried. We were waiting for the other shoe to drop, because when you make alliances with people that are liberals and or conservatives and want to, the whole thing is to keep the status quo, to not allow the party to make these progressive changes. When you make these alliances, this is something's going to break eventually. And so it was very quickly that this already started. She's inaugurated tomorrow on January 27th, and she will be sworn in by a judge. And so this is a really big deal, because through Congress is where they can stop her. They can make her a president that would be what we would call a lame duck, somebody that can't do anything, that can't really enact much change, and also will be pushed to look weak and also be unable to help change the country in any way and could potentially be removed or impeached or couped out of office. So those are the dangers that are happening right now. And so this caused a lot of chaos. And of course, the U.S. Embassy in Honduras called for calm dialogue this Saturday. And it's extremely chaotic because they wanted to support the other candidate, which was lawmaker Jorge Calix, as the president of Congress. And of course, he has the backing of Juan Orlando Hernandez's party, which is the point. And so Castro, right, who's Xiomara Castro, the president-elect, and her allies had elected Luis Redondo from the PSH party for the role in a session at a congressional headquarters in the Capitol. At the same time, Calix was also getting elected with the backing of Juan Orlando Hernandez. So in a speech, Calix pledged to work with Castro despite political differences. So Calix is kind of doing a Juan Guaido of Congress, saying, well, we want to guarantee that we will be vigilant, that the legislative agenda of our president, Xiomara Castro, is fulfilled. But Castro later tweeted that she didn't recognize him. She recognized Redondo as the congressional president and congratulated the lawmakers who rejected 12 years of Juan Orlando Hernandez, corruption networks. And she was, of course, referring to him. Pasa, your favorite song,
Wanchi, Wanchi. Which one? Afuera. Yeah.
So that's what they call him. And I said this on Franco's show yesterday. I looked through my 2017 pictures and I saw that when we were in Tijuana reporting for the caravans, right, that were coming through the border, and the majority of them were from Honduras, we went to a camp where there were so many tents there, and they had their flags and everything out. And one of the banners that they had out was, "We don't like Ho." And at that moment, I didn't know who Ho was exactly, because his name was Juan Orlando Hernandez, but that's his nickname, because they have several nicknames for several people.
Wanchi.
And I just looked at that picture recently and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. This is back, now almost 5 years ago that this is happening. And that's why it's such a big deal. And people of Honduras are not going to let this go easily, because they're very passionate about getting rid of any influence of Juan Orlando Hernandez in Honduras. So this is from Xiomara's tweet. She said, "I recognize the presidency of Congress headed by Deputy Luis Redondo, who is the agreed member that everybody had agreed to support. I invite you to my swearing in with the people on January 27th. I congratulate the deputies who reject 12 years of Ho's corruption network." So you guys can see that she's congratulating Luis Redondo there, and this is all happening in the last few days, right? And then so she expelled deputies that lost their status as active militants of the Libre Party, and she announced the expulsion of these 18 deputies who wouldn't comply.
Yeah. So what this is about is broken alliances, right, fam? Like the alliances that were made beforehand, right? Yeah. Go ahead. I'll talk about it a little bit after. I'll give my comments after. I just wanted to make sure that we got that out. Because there were alliances made beforehand, guys. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So these alliances were made before she even had the presidency. And so it is a betrayal if you look at it from that sense, that they would just say, no, we're not going to do what we had said we were going to do. And so Xiomara is the leader of the Libre Party, obviously, right now. And she read via a video the unanimous resolution taken in an extraordinary meeting, and this is from Tell Us We're English, of the political grouping indicating that the dissident deputies defied the party's leadership and the party's authority. So the list has all the names: Jorge Calix, which is the one that they've decided to make their leader, Beatriz Valle, Dennis Chirinos, Francis Cabrera, Mario Enrique Calix, Maria Portillo, Samuel Madrid, Ronald Pachame, Ramon Soto, Marco Tinico, Eduardo Castro, and including Frank Ramon Flores, Sergio Castellano, Germán Altamirano, Yahvé Savillon, Marco Elwood Giron, Wilmer Cruz, y Margarita Dabub Shikafi. So these are all the people that betrayed the Libre Party and are pretty much deciding to go with a different guy. So this is the first legislative session that took place recently, and you can just play it, Oz, and I'll talk over it. So they're basically demanding that Xiomara and Congress do their job and do what they said they would follow through with, which is what was in our platform and what they said they were going to do from the start. Okay. And Pasta, before I let you talk about this, I want to hear what this woman has to say, because what I've got to say is there's a lot of pushback from the people. So normally when this happens, sometimes there's not a lot of public interest in what's going on, right? The public is split and you need the support of the citizens and the public. Otherwise, what happens is it's a lot easier for them to take over and sort of remove power from the elected leader, which would be Xiomara in this case, and her party. So when that doesn't happen, when you don't have the support of the people, it's a lot more difficult to push back. But when you have people that have been protesting and are out there and saying, we're not going to allow this to happen, it makes a world of difference. So let's hear what this woman has to say.
Los 20 diputados traidores a la causa de Xiomara y a la causa del pueblo no se confíen, porque Xiomara tiene el respaldo de 1.7 millones. No traidores, no queremos traidores en el partido. Tenemos 12 años luchando para que unos hijos de puta se vengan a vender contra el mejor postor, que es el Partido Nacional, un partido que tiene cuentas pendientes con la justicia. Y hoy doy la cara para que me la miren. Estamos encachimbados con esos hijos de puta. No pasarán y no pasarán.
Damn, fam.
Right?
Damn.
That's my new best friend right there.
Cursing in Spanish today,
Same
right
energy.
there. Fired up. What did she
Same
say?
energy. Yeah, I loved it. She's saying, we're not going to allow this to happen. One of the things that when we were there that they kept saying was, we've been fighting to get rid of these people for 12 years, right? And they've defeated the party, the National Party, Juan Orlando Hernandez's party. And as soon as these people they automatically sell out, right, to the highest bidder. And they're like, no, we're going to make an alliance with the National Party instead. And we're going to do our own thing. And we're going to maintain control. And it's ridiculous because it came from the Libre Party, which means there was a sort of co-option and infiltration going on. And so we knew that was happening, Pasta, by talking to some members of the Libre Party. It's not a monolith, but people had different responses to Nicaragua, to Daniel Ortega. And the Libre Party definitely had some people that called him a dictator, and also had some people that were like, no, we're going to go to the inauguration of Daniel Ortega and we're going to be there. And, and they were there. And their flag is very similar. So they were all there, and I talked to some of them, and they hate him. They hate him so much, Juan Orlando Hernandez. And so the Libre Party there is a divide there. But what happens when there is a divide is that the other factions exploit that divide, right? And so you got to be very careful as to how you proceed now with Xiomara. And the thing that she does have is people behind her. And that's extremely important because her win is unprecedented, not just because she's a woman, but also because of the circumstances that Honduras prevailed and won under, because of the whole attempted of stealing of the elections. We were there. We caught so many things happening. And so these people are not going to give in easily.
No, not at all. And, it just making me think so much right now because it was so, people have to understand the history of Honduras, especially within the last 15 years to understand what's going on in the country right now, right? And we saw the little, ticky-tacky kind of like try to death by 1,000 cuts kind of sway this election, because the National Party, Juan Orlando Hernandez's party, the lackeys of the United States, they were in power, right? So we witnessed this whole thing, but once they got by it and they stopped the counting, they paused the counting, and Zamora was so far ahead, we were sitting there, and our biggest concerns is how all the, other observers are like, are they going to let this go through? Or are they going to try something now? I even tweeted, I hope that a water pipe don't break or the electricity goes out, kind of alluding to what happened in Atlanta in the United States elections, what happened to them last time in 2017, how the lights went out in Georgia, the power went down, he was up by 5% in the Libre Party last time. When the energy went back on, Juan Hernandez was within striking distance. So we were very cautious. And when it happened, right, it's like, okay, this is going to happen. It was going to happen before we left. And we were kind of wondering, like, are they going to just let these people have power over here? Is something going on? All the attention, right, went to now the Libre Party, now holding Zamora and the party more accountable, to be more for the people right now, right? Okay, like what we talk about all the time, to be more like Ortega, to be more of a nationalist, to enrich your people, but do it, carefully, because we understand the United States is there, whatnot. There's opinions about how it should be done. But the funny thing about it is that I don't think we saw this coming, right? This portrayal now in the Congress now, which would essentially make her platform moot, because now you have Juan Orlando Hernandez's party in Congress holding the power and can just push back. So the question is now, fam, who's behind it, right? Is this an internal matter that's going on, or was the West behind this? And what now is the West going to do? They're already starting with that rhetoric of, okay, let's be calm. You guys got to be cool. When you work it out, we'll come there. We'll be the referee. But now are they going to stand behind this tactic? Was this something planned the whole time so that they know that there wasn't an uprising in the country? Because we felt, right, that had they cheated this election, it was going to burst, right? It was going to go crazy. People were like, even when we booked the press conference for the next day, they were going to charge us. And we said, listen, this is so important. We got to get this information out. They were like, okay, you guys can do it for free, because they felt that it was so important. They suffered with this government for so long. Get the news out. It's new times. We got to make sure that the people's vote counts and Zamora is the president. But it looks like, fam, it was something that might have been in the woodworks the whole time. They had their ace in their pocket, their secret weapon. So now we got to pay attention to who the United States is going to back. And if the Honduras government, Zamora Castro's government, will accept what the United States says, if it's against what's going on. Are these tactics legal? She's expelling these people. That's going to be the argument. No, it's legal what they did. It's illegal what they did. There's objective news that we can give you and make it entertaining, because it's like a drama, like something going on. This is some really good, juicy stuff. We have to just pay attention to it.
Fam, that word. So I thought something was going to happen, because it was too easy the way they were allowed to win. And also the OAS still being involved. And also they're kind of not nationalizing certain things. But through Congress is actually a really good way to do it, instead of hyper focusing on Xiomara. They can render her useless if they do it enough. So that's kind of what I see happening here, similar to what happened to Pedro Castillo in Peru, as I said. And the thing is, Honduran people are very passionate about this, because they've endured 12 years, as they said. So they're not going to let this go easily. And the Libre Party, I think, initially had infiltrators from the start, just based on my conversations with some of the people there and how they were pretty much spewing CIA talking points. And I got into an argument with some people too when we were there. And so I kind of, I sense there's something there. This is how they do I think the National Party is certainly involved. I think the National Party has to be involved, because they're supporting the National Party. So the National Party's candidate in Congress, so they're supporting that candidate. And so the National Party is obviously involved, and the National Party was not the people they made alliances with, but now they're going to go after the weaker people. So you would think like the alliance, the liberal alliances would have been the first to go to sell out. But there's a reason for that, because now once they got some of the Libre members and she expelled them, now where are those people going to go? Yeah. And so that's what we're going to have to watch here. But the people of Honduras are recognizing Luis Redondo as the official, the official elector as president of Congress. So outside of Congress, the Honduran people celebrated the publication of the directive chaired by Luis Redondo in the official Gazette. And it was held by Dr. Luther Castillo. And this is from Castrochan News, who reported on it. And you can see that this, official Gazette is saying Luther Castillo or Luis Redondo is the one who is the president of Congress. So they're not recognizing the other guy. This is kind of like a, Juan Guaido of Congress situation where he tried to, become the president of Congress, even though the General Assembly, to be. Yeah. And here's a video of just like the chaos ensuing right there. People supporting Luis Redondo. Okie dokie. And so just to wrap up this section, this is a very important situation happening because Kamala Harris is going to Honduras, especially after she told Guatemalans do not come. It's the stupidest thing to send her there. She's supposed to be the border czar. And so this is a statement from her secretary, Sabrina Singh, on her travel to Honduras. So they let out this press release on the 19th of January saying Vice President Kamala Harris will lead the presidential delegation to Honduras to attend the January 27th inauguration of President-elect Xiomara Castro. The vice president's visit will further the commitment she and President-elect Castro made during their December 10th phone call to deepen the partisanship between the United States and Honduras and work together to advance economic growth, combat corruption, and address the root causes of migration. So that worries me a lot, and I'm going to continue, but I wanted to show this picture of the preparations for Kamala's arrival with these cars that arrived and how they're going to likely stop traffic when she gets there, because they're saying that she's going to have unprecedented security measures that have not been there for people before. So, yeah. And so Biden had announced also on the 19th, on the 18th, a presidential delegation to Honduras to attend the inauguration of Her Excellency Xiomara Castro. And this is, of course, in Tegucigalpa, and Kamala Harris, of course, was going to lead the delegation. So this has been a known announcement, and from the people that are part of this delegation is going to be Samantha Power, USAID, which is a CIA cutout. She's the administrator of the USAID. Raul Ruiz, a U.S. member of Congress from California. Jose W. Fernandez, Undersecretary of Economic Growth, Energy, and the Environment for the U.S. State Department. The Honorable Brian A. Nichols, Assistant Secretary for Western Hemisphere Affairs of the U.S. Department of State. And Colleen Hoey, Charge of Affairs of the U.S. Embassy in Tegucigalpa. So that's who's going with her. Those are the delegation. And she's going to address too, and this is from Daily Mail, the root causes of illegal immigration. And of course, like we said, deepen the partnership. They're expected to discuss how to combat corruption and migration, as well as advance economic growth. And this is her second trip to the Northern Triangle since she was tasked with tackling the border crisis, which she's done an amazing job. And this is a month after she announced that they're going to provide a $540 million deal in new private industry investments in Central America. And so that worries me, Pasta. I want to hear your opinion on that. So I already knew that there was this money that was supposed to be allocated to Central America. It was actually in one of the bills we went over, $540 million in private industry investments. That doesn't sound good. That sounds like resources extraction. That sounds like privatization of certain industries in particular regions. Obviously, they're not going to go into Nicaragua. I have a hard time thinking Bukele is going to be involved with that. Maybe he will. He kind of, goes wherever he thinks is more convenient. But Honduras is a country that, Pasta, I want you to talk about this, has military bases, U.S. military bases. It is not in the same position. And so what worries me is that Kamala Harris is going there to supposedly have some sort of relationship and understanding with Xiomara. Simultaneously, we see the $540 million. Could Xiomara be tempted to make deals with the devil?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what level this is at, fam. This was like already, we kind of made a little bit of a deal, right? Like we talked, we have that question with Manuel Zelaya, both of us have questions. One of them, what are you going to do if this happens? And it was kind of like, like I keep saying, a little bit poetic and a lot of bit politician, right? Like, just, you have to have faith. So trust me, let's go into this together. Well, that's like not answering the question. There's been a lot of scuttlebutt talk about like, possibly some type of alliance, whatnot. Now, when it comes down to it, there are three military bases in Honduras, right? They have a very serious situation over there. In fact, a friend of ours who's very knowledgeable of the region even said it's like pretty much that military is the U.S. military. And it's involved with every single aspect of security within the state. It's lurking, the U.S. presence of their military. In 2009, in the middle of the night, they removed Manuel Zelaya in his underwear, So I'm kind of thinking right now that this is one of those things where the U.S. can look Xiomara in the eyes and say, you see what we're capable of doing? Don't get any ideas. Don't get any ideas. We got money to invest here. You know what I'm saying? Remember, it was Hillary Clinton in Honduras in 2009 under the the Obama administration. This is the same people here. The band's back together, and they might just be wagging their finger going, we have $540 million in investments ready to come through over here. Do not screw it up. We're in charge here. You're just a figurehead. So the question is right now is what's going to happen moving forward? Is it A, the United States is really just going to try to be the nice referee, be honest and true, and let them work things out? Or B, are they going to support Xiomara if she plays ball? And C, are they just going to just support Juan Orlando Hernandez and maintain control that way? It's all, you're going to have to watch the following episodes here on the Convo Couch. Find out.
Yeah, and just to wrap it up, I think the United States is never going to play nice. The United States is going to give either you cooperate with what we say and you get this money, and or we're going to find a way to control this in any way in other ways. Because if Xiomara doesn't play ball, they're going to go after the dissidents, those that support the National Party and their attempt to control. They probably have already been doing that to gain control of Congress, to make it impossible for Xiomara to govern effectively, which is the way a lot of these Latin American countries go down. And that's what I fear the most. And I think that, not nationalizing industries, the fact that Kamala Harris got a phone call with Xiomara, or that Xiomara got a phone call with Kamala Harris, the fact that they made tweets congratulating her, the fact that even, I think even AOC tweeted something. The establishment is too calm. The West is way too calm. The empire is just being too kind to them. They don't feel threatened at this point. And so I think that they're trying to really put out all the glitter and all the goods to see if it'll stick. And they're pretty confident that it will. And if Xiomara, unfortunately, plays ball with the United States, and she is between a rock and a hard place, but if she plays ball with the United States, that's not going to end well for Honduras. The Honduras is going to go back to being at the behest of the U.S. And right now is the key moment to leave that unilateral diplomacy and embrace the multilateralism, which is literally happening with China, Iran, Venezuela. Just today, Putin's advisor of the foreign affairs told Nicaragua that they're going to work militarily and technologically to join forces with Nicaragua, Cuba, Venezuela, and Russia to really form alliances. And we're seeing these alliances go all over the place through the Belt and Road Initiative. And that is essential. It is, if there's ever a time to really stand up to the empire, it is right now where it is the weakest. And I think Honduras and Xiomara and the Libre Party would fare better to do it. But once they have their ducks in a row, pretty much say, you know what, we're gonna do this. We're gonna look at China over Taiwan, because Taiwan was there. The vice president of Taiwan was there. And so it's this whole situation where they're all fighting for who is Honduras gonna look at. Because if the West takes Honduras, it's gonna make it a lot more difficult for Nicaragua and China. So they can't lose Honduras.
Yeah. And everybody needs to understand.
So they're going to try really hard to keep their tabs on Honduras.
Honduras is pretty much a military.
Absolutely fair.
Fugazi propped up, military base. And, as much as they try to fight for their power and their freedom and stuff, the United States is not going to let go of their influence there very easily, So it's just let's wait and see. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, they have to do it carefully, right? The United States, because the country's ready to explode.
Yeah.
People are ready to get in the streets. And, if they lose it completely, forget about it. That's going to cause a lot of problems with them, with their allies in the region, and their enemies in the regions, the military industrial complex, the oligarchs' enemies, right? Which are those states, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Cuba, and a lot of other people are kind of looking in right now, Bolivia is there too as well. So we'll just have to wait and see, right, fam?
Yep.
All right. That's it for the section. Let's do it. We have 174 people watching on YouTube. Like Tony GC just said, this world is totally fugazi or fugazi, depending on where you're going from. Thank you guys so much. All those people, Popeye the Sailor, all those people say less. Jilly love showing the love over on the YouTubes. Get on over to the Rokfin, because soon, in a little bit, we're going to be a Rokfin only. We got 116 people watching, guys. Let's get to 200 today. That means all we need is a decent sized portion of you from YouTube to come on over and watch. Uncle Warren left a super ray. He says, War Deer Entertainment, long-time listener, first-time caller, fee pasta, Johnny, come on Extra Bullet tomorrow night. I'm lonely. Tomorrow might be a tough day. I got to hell and back as well. So we'll see, but we'll definitely get involved. Uncle Warren will definitely come on your show. We love you. We thank you for your support. So yeah, don't worry. We will be there. Guys, here's what's going to happen. We're going to do the first part of this section on the YouTubes, and then we're going to go over to Rokfin only. Sorry that we have to do that. But, once again, the censorship, the suppression, all that stuff still exists in YouTube. It's not getting any better. It's only got worse. So let's get this started, fam. We're going to talk about this here. I think this a little Kennedy, right? And fam, you let us know when we pull the leash, and we will pull the leash, and we will get on over to the Rokfin only. So, fam.
Actually,
you were saying? Go ahead.
Before Kennedy, I wanted to show my interview that I had with this group from New York. And if we could just play that video, that would be great.
I just want to know why you're here today. What brought you out here?
What brought me out here? I'm from New York, first and foremost, Brooklyn, New York. And I noticed that, as far as going into public places like, restaurants and things of that nature, you shouldn't have to decide if you want to be vaccinated or not just to do the bare minimum, you know what I'm saying? As far as like eating, shopping, and things of that nature, going to a movie theater is something I love to do with my little brother. You feel me?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to be vaccinated to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Do you feel like this is affecting a certain demographic of people, like the vaccine mandates? I have talked to other people who are, people of color, working class people, and they're the ones that are signaled out when they go into restaurants and asked to show their cards.
Yes, absolutely. mean, like I said, it depends on where you're at. You know what I'm saying? In New York, especially. I know in the five boroughs like Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, it's big like that. You know what I'm saying? Long Island, they don't get those type of pressures. You know what I'm saying? But in the inner city, yeah, we do. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot, like you said, a lot more. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think this issue is like a left-right issue, or do you think it's something else?
Everybody issue. It's an everybody issue. It's not just us. It's not just them. It's everybody. You know what I'm saying? All races, all colors, all, you know what I'm saying, genders, everything. This is our fight. This is our fight. This is the world's fight. This is America's fight. You know what I'm saying? It's either we lose everything or we, you know what I'm saying, we fight back and get everything back.
Nice, fam.
Right. So a lot of the narrative surrounding the Defeat the Mandates march has been it's a bunch of white Trump supporters and right wingers and anti-Semitic and, you know, all these people or these fake leftists or whatever. And, you know, Black in the Empire said it the other day on a tweet. I wasn't the only Black guy at this march. It was a very diverse march. There were all kinds of people from all walks of life. And it was really interesting seeing a lot of leftists there. People that watch our show came out and actually supported us and were excited to see us. People that watch The Gray Zone and Max Blumenthal were excited to hear his speech. You know, there were also people that are some of the more libertarian Republicans that were like, hey, I know you guys. And it was interesting. It was interesting because, you know, what they're spewing out there, what these Walker Bragmans, these Eon Higgins, these, and I know his name is Owen, but I call him Eon.
No, it's Eon.
What these people are saying, Humanist Report, and I think Jordan Charlatan, all of these people, they're pretty much regurgitating these attacks that are focused on ad hominem attacks. They don't refute with any data, any sort of substantial argument. It's just literally, oh, this is gross. Oh, this is sick. I can't believe you did that. Did what? Can you please specify what Max said, what JFK said, what's wrong with covering this march? What's wrong with us going there and interviewing people and talking to people? Journalism isn't, oh, I'm only going to talk to people who agree with my ideology. That's not journalism. I don't even know what that's like PR. You know, for your own echo chamber. You're supposed to talk to people regardless of your own individual ideology. And what's happening is that people only talk to people who agree with them. And that happens everywhere. It happens with these shit libs and these cappuccino communists, but also happens with all sorts of media. Even independent media sometimes tends to have the same type of topics. Echo chamber, you know, we're just going to talk about the squad. We're just going to talk about, you know, Jimmy Dore and Sam Cedar. We're not going to talk about, you know, other things. Like, you have to break away from these echo chambers and move past it, because really the what is happening right now is so important, and it's so dangerous. And I think the best speech, of course, was RFK's speech, which is what we're going to go over now. But like Pasta said, you know, they ran out of time. They didn't time it out right, and Max didn't get to speak. And we got to hear his speech in person, and it was great. And he also got to say it on Jimmy Dore's show, which is awesome. And I'm glad that Jimmy gave him a platform to say that speech, because his speech was powerful in terms of, from a leftist perspective, we come at it in a different way than a Republican does, right? They'll come at it as, you know, we're Americans and we fought Nazis and we're not going to allow that to happen again. And a certain aspect as to what they see it. But from when we see it, we're like, look, like, this isn't a left-right issue. You know, this isn't about socialism. This is about authoritarianism and fascism. And this is about the 1% coming at us. And these are the things that Max mentioned in his speech. And he mentioned Julian Assange, which is so big, which is something I would have mentioned 100%. And I try to mention him all the time. And people get so mad. Like, what does he have to do with this? It has everything to do with this. Because, and I think JFK said it in his speech, or RFK said it in his speech, that there's a reason why we have the First Amendment as a number one, being free speech, because it directly impacts every other freedom that we have. If we don't have the ability to have free speech, We don't have the ability to think for ourselves, to find the truth. We don't have any ability whatsoever. And we lose the ability to fight for everything else. And it's one of the things that I applaud my friends who are huge Assange activists, you know, Slow News Day, Misty, and all these people who have been saying that from the beginning. And it really makes a lot of sense, and it really is truthful. But the problem is to get people to understand that, because they're so distracted by everything else and the immediate concerns that they don't see how important what's happening with these mandates and this whole situation is.
Yeah. And I just want to digress back to, we're talking about some of these independent media leftist people who are just parroting what's on the mainstream media. It's the, oh my God left, right? It's the, it's built on the emotional left, right? And it's all a distraction, because then it gets you from talking about the actual intricacies of what the policies are, what framework we're living in, and, you know, actual real discussions. It is a form of cancel culture. And what they have just done is pretty much they provided us a lane because they exposed themselves. These people right here, and it's important to point it out, I'm not shit talking here. I'm pointing out the fact that you got to know which media to trust. You know, it's something that Oz tells us all the time. Don't you guys change. You guys tell us the truth. Well, these people, they don't want to push back and be opponents of the mainstream media. They want to join it. They want a job. The Walker Bragans, the Jordan Sheridans, the Mike Figueredos. That's what they want. The Eon Higgins. They don't want to push back against the narrative. They want to join the narrative. And that's what we're dealing with. And as far as Max is concerned, I'm glad he did get a chance to read it on Jimmy Dore. I didn't even see the show yet. We saw it in person. It was amazing. And it was so important too, as well, because we're going to try, it was going to tie things together. You know, we wanted to make sure there was a presence of leftists there. And we saw a lot of leftists there, fam. A lot of people that we know that follow our show that came up and said, thank you. Thank you for speaking the truth on this boop boop situation, when a lot of people in your shoes wouldn't do it because they knew it was too dangerous for them. Not just to be ostracized by these other people, but to be financially kneecapped and try to be put out into the snow where you don't do this anymore. So, you know, it was just an important thing. I'm glad we got to hear it. I'm going to go watch it later on. But it was just a crazy, great event. And I can't wait to get to this part of RFK, because we can sit here and we can dissect this speech all day. We can spend hours on this speech. So we picked a couple spots that are really important. And let's jump into one of the most important things, because it's us group of people in the independent media that have been talking about specifically of what he's going to talk about right now. And also the ad hominem attacks that you talked about are just crazy as well. So please.
So wait 1 second. I just want to say the reason we're showing this part is this part we can get away with putting it on YouTube. The rest of his speech, I don't think so. But the part that we're focusing on is a lot of people have been criticizing him because he mentioned Anne Frank and he mentioned the Holocaust, and he compared the time now that it's so much harder to get away and hide out from the impending authoritarianism. And what he meant by that was the technology, that we're being surveilled, we're being looked at everywhere. And a lot of people took it as, how dare he compare this to Anne Frank, this is gross and blah, blah, blah. And so let's hear what he says, because out of context, people might have a different opinion than understanding where he was coming from that.
And Oz, you can take us down for these videos. So.
Now, the vaccine now is in the marketplace. And what we've seen is the data points that we are seeing confirm the fact that people are dying of heart attacks. As Steve said, there's been 1 million injuries recorded in VAERS. There have been 20,000 deaths, more deaths than all vaccines combined for the last 36 years. So, what is CDC's answer and Tony Fauci's answer to that? Is they say The 4 companies that make all of our U.S. vaccines for the children's program, Pfizer, Glaxo, we are watching something now that I never believed that I would see in my lifetime. And I read in Orwell and Kafka and Aldous Huxley, this dystopian science fiction novels that one day the United States would be overtaken by fascism. Fascism, incidentally, is defined, Mussolini defined it as a merger of state and corporate power. And orchestrated by Tony Fauci. So what we're seeing today, is what I call turnkey totalitarianism. They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Even in Hitler's Germany, you could cross the Alps into Switzerland. You can hide in an attic like Anne Frank did. I visited in 1962 East Germany with my father and met people who had climbed the wall and escaped. So it was possible. Many died doing it, but it was possible. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. They're putting in 5G to harvest our data and control our behavior. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Vaccine passports. You have a series of rights, as flawed as our government is. You can still go out and go to a bar. You can go to a sporting event. You can get on a bus or an airplane and you can travel. You have certain freedoms. You can get educated, etc. The minute they hand you that vaccine passport, every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates. It will make you a slave. And what do we do about this? What do? We resist.
Why did they hyper focus on the comments that he made about Anne Frank, saying that you could hide there and you can't hide anymore? His whole point was that you can't. I mean, we're being mass surveilled. You're seeing that they're trying to control every aspect. When you log on to Twitter, Facebook, they control the algorithm of what you see, who you see, YouTube, all of that. And so that's what he's talking about. It's not, he wasn't dunking on anything about the Holocaust. And when he's talking about 5G, there's a literal bill that I saw yesterday too, talking about how Biden's putting money into the 5G. That's not fake. That's all happening. So people try to take those parts of what he said and say, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. He's, talking about these passports. That's happening all over the world, whether it happens, the attempt was through this pandemic via the pandemic to install more control. We've seen that. We've been talking about that forever, about Davos, the fourth industrial revolution and all that. And he does mention more of that as well. But that may not happen just from the mandates. That may happen from whatever other thing, because now in California by October you need a real ID. You need a specific different type of ID, and people are going in that direction. Governments are going in that direction, specifically this government. And what's happening is that a lot of the left is welcoming and in fact demanding more power for these corrupt governments, like the corrupt oligarchy, the empire that we live in. And when somebody tells the truth like that, if you can't shut them up, what do? You smear them. And that's what's happening, is that the establishment media, they're progressive lackeys that are basically establishment light. And a lot of people not talking about this because they're afraid of getting pushback, are pretty much bringing in the control of the national security state apparatus and these psychopaths that basically want to control every aspect, because they need to data mine you. They need to make sure that you are compliant. And the moment you are not, they're going to take away any sort of rights. These rights will no longer be rights, they'll be privileges that you can only have the more compliant you are. And we have been talking about this forever, but he put it so eloquently. And I thought his speech was so amazing. And I'm so pissed that he felt compelled to apologize to these shit libs for their fake outrage, because he didn't do anything wrong. And I told him, I said, you didn't have to apologize. You did nothing wrong. What you said is true. And you never give an inch to these people, because they're never going to be satisfied with any apology that you ever do. When you try to placate to them, they're never going to like somehow accept you. And that's one thing that people need to learn. There's no need to apologize to these people. And I wish we could play his whole fucking speech, because it was on YouTube, guys, but we're going to have to go to Rokfin and really discuss everything, because he hit every single subject. I mean, one of our friends was like, RFK 2024. And I'm like, well, not in this, they wouldn't let that happen in a million years. So
RFK and his vice president, Dr. Ryan Cole, right? And fam, this is something we have to point out before we get off of YouTube. I want to say this on this platform, is that we have to stop with the apologies anymore, right? He said in one part of his speech that we're not going to play today, he goes, there are three things the security state does that we have to pay attention to. Number one, when they get power, they never give it back. Number two, when they get that power, they're going to abuse it to every freaking level as they can. Number three, nobody has ever complied their way out of this control, right? So I don't know why he complied with the shit libs and the synthetic left on the left to change his speech. Oh my God, like whatnot, because really what it is, it's a tactic to distract people, because the emotional left buys into it. Oh, he mentioned Anne Frank and the Nazis. Oh my God. No, what was he really talking about? He was talking about the security state and this technocratic theocracy of sorts that's just freaking going to man the planet, every part of it. And now you're under control, that there is nowhere to run, that there is nowhere to hide. And they didn't want to talk about his real message, which is what? It's time to resist. It's time to resist. And that's what he should have done. Resist the calls to apologize, because it might hurt somebody's feelings. I'm done with that now, fam. I'm not doing that. I'm not walking on eggshells. I'm going to speak my mind, and you should out there too. And he should have never apologized, because what he said was fire. And I appreciate it. And like you said, every part of this long speech we can just take. It's juicy from beginning to end.
Bam! With the juicy. It's good. It's good. It hits every point from beginning to end. Yeah. So guys, join us on the Rokfin only. We have to go deeper into what some of these doctors said. How they've put so much on the line, the things they found, the data. These are doctors. These are people that have so much wealth of knowledge. It's not just people with an opinion. These are scientists, people that have spent decades in this field, that have treated patients, that were literally in tears talking about how they were told that they couldn't help people. So like this is what we have to talk about on Rokfin Only. So join us on Rokfin Only for this, because I wish everybody could have been there and heard. And by the way, shout out to the organizers for having people from the Green Party, the Black Caucus of the Green Party, for having a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian, all coming together. That is what scares the establishment. And that's why they're so keen on smearing anybody that's associated with that. That's why, brace yourself. Welcome the smears. Welcome them. If you are, somebody that is getting smeared at this point, because all it does is expose them. Like, I welcome the fucking smears. Let them say whatever the hell they want, because at the end of the day, the truth is the truth. And that's what we seek here, is the truth, the ultimate truth, however as close as we can get to whatever that is, not based on ideology, but based on what is true in actuality. And if that some new information changes my mind, then so be it. But I believe a certain thing, and I have my own ideology. That doesn't mean I'm not going to talk to people who may come at it a different way. But what we all agree on is that we have to resist this authoritarianism, this impending fascism. And I wish more people reported on this stuff. I wish more people had the balls, the ovaries, the audacity, the cojones to actually talk about these things, because really it's not enough that only a few of us, a handful of us, are talking about it and are the ones getting smeared. Do better. Talk about things that are more important.
Let's get on over to Rokfin. That's it, guys. I got 174 people watching still currently on the YouTubes. We have 163. We even got a thumbs down. So thank you to the troll that came into Rokfin today. We're pulling trolls in now. That's awesome. We got some super rays to get to, but we'll get to that at the end of this section. Guys, get on over to the Rokfin. We are leaving YouTube now. We appreciate it. We love you. Leaving YouTube in 5, in 4, in 3, in 2, in 1. See you on Rokfin. We're good?
Okay.